Hi, my name's Kathy Millett, and this week we're looking at how to model brick debris on a diorama or layout using some simple products. Starting off our look at the real world, it's easy to find pictures of brick debris and basically piles and piles of broken bricks. You might even see them when you're wandering around and watching your neighbours do some renovations. So I would just take a look at the pictures, see how much dust there is, see what colour the bricks are, see what the colour of all the dust and everything else is. Whatever stuff might be buried in there, it may not just be bricks. As you can see from these concrete pictures, there's reinforced steel in there as well. So depending on the building, just see what you need to come up with to make it look realistic. So what are we going to use to model our brick debris? Well, first off, and this was a suggestion that Doug Foscale had in the Kino diorama kit that I'm going to be putting this on, that he gave me to review, and I've got to say I've really enjoyed building. First thing was to use real brick or terracotta pots. And if you're like me and you have a garden with old bricks in, some of my bricks are actually crumbling and they're great. Or this is terracotta pot, which is you can go and buy from a garden centre if you don't have crumbling bricks. And this one's lovely and well weathered, and it's shattering in the frost. So this is a piece that came off my pot, and I took a bit of it and I just put it in a plastic bag. Not here. This is a granite work surface. I'm not doing it here. And my garage floor was like this big. So I went and put it in a plastic bag and hammered it, and I end up with a pile of different size rubble. Now some of it's quite big, too big even for 1:35, but it's great to go underneath to start the base of the piles. And then I also bought some 1:35 scale bricks. Now you can get these from all sorts of places. These are from Greenstuffworld, but you can see the colours slightly different. These are really pinky. This is really orangey. So we need to do something about that colouring, but you can't beat having the shape of a brick, and you can see they're really nice. And it also gives you an idea of the size. And then I've also got some mosaic grout, just because I could get that, but terracotta coloured grout, which you can buy online. I got this at Amazon, only a small packet, but it's great for dust. And I'll also be adding to that some white pigments. This is MIG, they're out of production, but AK Interactive or Ammo by MIG also do them, as do countless other suppliers. And it's just a plain white pigment, just to make the terracotta perhaps a little bit less strident at times. So those are basically what I'm going to use. The next thing you need is glue to glue down your debris, your brick debris. So I just use a basic thick, this is tacky glue, it's a white glue. If I'm putting individual pieces like the rocks, or in this case it's terracotta. And then I have a couple of dropper bottles with a mix of 1/3 white glue, 2/3 normal water, and 1/3 isopropyl alcohol and 2/3 water. And this just makes everything spread. It breaks the surface tension down, much like fairy liquid, but without the bubbles. I'm going to do some brick debris down the front. Mostly just because, and the side, because the back's got a lot on it already, but I have put the odd brick in there and I'll probably add a couple more just for variety. So one thing I'm very keen about is you can see this gap along the bottom. Now because I was going to do debris, I didn't worry about the gap. But what I'm going to do now is make sure that I build up that gap, because, so there's going to be debris all around the base. I can't cope with buildings that float. It's a little pet peeve of mine. But if you can see daylight or a line of black between your building and the ground, it just slams the reality for me. So top tip for everybody, if you can't fill it, even just plasticine or something like that mixed up can be a great filler. So before I do anything else, I'm going to put some glue down just to start this off. And I'm just going to use a blob of white glue. So put quite a bit of white glue on because I don't want these bottom ones to shift. Move it around a bit with a cocktail stick. And then I use a teaspoon, or my fingers in a teaspoon, to dribble on the really big ones first and then the smaller ones on top. So now I've got all of these on, what I'm going to do is start putting some bricks in. So when we look, there's rubble and bricks as we look at it. I realised partway through that I needed to go and smash a few up, so I put them in a plastic bag and got the hammer out again because I don't want all my bricks to be whole. So I then added them up, put some of the smashed ones on top and arranged them a little bit more than I did with the rubble. And finally I added on some terracotta tile grout. Now this is it sticks to itself quite well. It doesn't push down amongst all the gaps. It's not as heavy as the actual brick dust. So when you put the glue on later, it does water down a bit, but for now we just need to brush it into place. Then I just need to glue it. Now, what I'll find is the isopropyl alcohol often beads on the tile grout, and if it does, just put more isopropyl alcohol in. And at this point, a lot of this tile grout that was looking a bit weird does actually settle back down in. And then if you find you have got too much on, I've got a little bit at this end, you can just put a bit of kitchen roll and just suck, and it will pull out all the extra water and glue and stuff you don't want sat there. So now I'm just going to mix up a little bit more dust and debris to go on top of this. It looks a little bit, yeah, it isn't quite sitting where I want it to yet. So for that, I'm going to put in some of that terracotta tile grout. I've got it in a separate one because otherwise too much tips in. And I'm going to put in some white just to lighten it. I found it a bit dark, if I'm honest. And this is just a white pigment. And then I'm going to put in, I found the colour a bit brown. So I'm going to put in some rust pigment. This is Light Rust by AK Interactive. And I'm going to mix those up and see what they look like and adjust the colour as needed. I'm just going to use a teaspoon to put that on again. And then brush it into place. You notice I haven't mixed it 100%, so there's still a little bit of variation in the colour. And I've got this lifted up, so anything that falls off doesn't sort of stick to the underneath or anything. What I'm also going to do is just wipe any bricks like this that has just too much glue on it, because it dries shiny, which just doesn't look good. There's a couple of them that have just got a little sort of bit too much glue, so we'll take that off. There we go. So now it's just a case of leaving it to dry again and then doing the final coat. Right, I feel like we're nearly getting there on the Kino diorama. It's been on the side for a while I've been doing other things, and it's time just to finish it off. So what I need to do now is just get a brush and just put some more of this powder on loose. It's getting a bit shiny in places, so time to get rid of that, and I don't like this colour as much as perhaps. Well, yeah, I think it needs a bit of toning down. I'm just going to go around and add this powder in. Now, I'm not going to fix it because, well, let's face it, it's a diorama, it's not going to get used a lot. So I'm not that fussed about this final coat being fixed. If you are worried, then you can obviously glue it and then you'll end up with the same effect as you had last time. So I'd recommend just using water or something. Doesn't particularly change it. Or just being happy to live with it being just a little bit of loose powder. You can always tip it upside down and brush it all off if you're that way inclined. So next week we're on to doing the final finishing touches, and it seems like we're nearly there. So here we go, I'll just take some photos, be on to the next video then.